Good evening, Galaxy fans. I hope you're all doing well, of course. My name is Mike Gray. I cover both the Galaxy and LAFC for the Striker. Here with me tonight is my faithful co host, the one and only, the boy genius himself, Alex Ruiz. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm just tired, man. Just tired. Busy week. Uh, some of y'all probably like no or not. But like I'm still a college student, so it was finals week for me all week. So I'm just like drained.
I'm just happy you're here, buddy. I mean, it's been quite a long journey for both of us. We do apologize last week, or excuse me, on Monday. We were going to do a show, and then we had audio issues, so that kind of screwed things up. But yeah, there was a little bit of news, Alex. I'm sure you know about it. One Lionel Messi will be coming to America to sign for Inter Miami. I'm already bored with the Messi tweets. There's a lot out there. But once you get all the riffraff out of the way, dude, I'm so excited. I mean, here's a dude who has 467 million Instagram followers. We just instantly have the biggest athlete in the world playing in MLS. I mean, for me, it's two things. The first is that Beckham. He's sort of the one person that we can sort of compare it to. Uh, s- Others have brought up Pele, but for me, Beckham's the guy. Beckham came at a time when like social media wasn't really a thing yet. It was still sort of taking off. He also came at a time when the league wasn't really that big. Messi has the potential to be Beckham on steroids. Not only just, with his arrival, but you combine that with the 2026 World Cup that's coming around the corner. Those two events in conjunction have the ability to just transform the country. And, you know, soccer has the ability to become a top five sport in the next few years if they get their cards right. But that's a big if, Alex, because, I mean, for me, uh, it really comes down to whether or not the league and its officials, do they want to make a lot of money or do they want to elevate the league? It's going to be easy to make money. Elevating the league, I mean, obviously, they're going to sell a million jerseys, blah, blah, blah. I mean, tickets, etc. But, you know, there aren't enough eyeballs on this league right now. The quality of play isn't where it should be. Liga MX, you just saw the numbers for their final, like the Tigres and Chivas were absolutely ridiculous. MLS, until they get to that point, they're not in the same ballpark. And so, what do you think of all this excitement, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you have the greatest player of this generation coming over here, and again, with the rise of social media, everybody knows who Lionel Messi is. There's no need to kind of once you hear the name, you know who you're talking about. And let's not remember, this is 6 months ago. He was lifting the World Cup, so it's not like this is a Leo Messi that is washed per se, or a guy who's past his prime. Like he could go next season, play for any European club, and still put up quality numbers. So you're getting, a very, very talented player on your side. And again, he chose MLS. He had an offer of 1.5
Billions.
billion from Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. And right now, Saudi Arabia is, poaching footballers left and right. So, he chose to come to Miami. And again, I think he has a house in Miami, if I'm correct. So he's been here before. He knows what it's like. And again, like you said, Messi coming to MLS is going to bring eyeballs. It's going to bring people. It's going to put butts in seats. But the thing now for MLS is how do you keep those people from staying? Because in our country, we don't have soccer not being popular kind of problem. We don't have that many MLS followers in this country. Everybody I think in America, there's a lot of people who follow the top teams in Europe, but not enough people that follow MLS so closely per se. So definitely going to be interesting to see the effect Messi has, and obviously we've seen on social media and all the ticket sales that have happened because of his arrival. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. And like you mentioned, right, we have a World Cup here in 2026. You have Copa America here in 2024. So I think, and he hasn't made no intentions clear that he's going to retire from the Argentina national team. So he's going to be here and he's going to play for Argentina and try to compete in those two tournaments with his country.
Yeah. And like I said before, it's easy to sort of blame Euro snobs and welcome the Wrexham and just sort of the superior, just what people perceive to be superior. But it's not just Euro snobs, man. We just talked about Liga MX and how they have such a massive following. MLS is not doing enough to get eyeballs and attention, and they need to do more. And it's not even necessarily about spending money; it's about spending it smartly. LAFC outspent Lyon in the Concacaf Champions League final. I mean, you look at domestic leagues like Japan, and and well, Korea to a lower extent, but there are self-sustaining leagues that don't need $500 expansion fees to survive. So, if MLS gets it together, who knows? But that is kind of the thing, is that in America we're all about worshiping money. So we got to figure out how to take that and then take building a soccer league and just making it work. All right, I've gone as long as possible without talking about the Galaxy, but we got to get to it because, man, Alex, I was not liking what I saw Wednesday night. The Galaxy were knocked out of the Open Cup in the quarterfinals for the second consecutive year yesterday. They were defeated 3-2 at America First Field, Real Salt Lake. Wasn't a particularly close game. The Galaxy managed to pull a few goals back. But Alex, we got to talk about it because I wasn't really. I mean, I saw a team that couldn't possess the ball. I saw a Real Salt Lake attack that was just prolific and just causing all sorts of havoc. The Galaxy were struggling to do anything really, even on the attacking end. All I saw were just half chances, and it all led up to that Damir Kreilach goal.
Yeah, the Galaxy again, like the game last week against RSL, they really struggled to set the tone early in the game. And if we know the Galaxy, they're a team that wanted to get possession of the ball, that want to be able to set the tempo and dictate what goes on. Because again, it helps them the most and be able to kind of limit the damage that the other team does. And these last two games against RSL, they haven't been able to do that. Last week, they were lucky to just not concede in the first half. This week you had two goals, Damir Kreilach, one from open play where the defense, midfield, the spaces are just too open, and he just, the
Yes.
team just, weaves through and scores. And not a good goal to give up there. And then again, the penalty, which I thought was kind of weak. To be honest, it kind of sucks that at this stage of the tournament, you don't have VAR. I understand you don't want to implement that, knowing that there are lower leagues that don't necessarily have the infrastructure to do it. But at least by the round of 16, we should have VAR in this tournament. I mean, we know how important it is to the game, and it has its benefits. Everybody knows this, so I don't understand why we don't have it from the round of 16 and moving on. But nonetheless, that's kind of the one things I emphasized in my recap article today. Just the lack of them being able to kind of dictate the game and get any control until the last 10 so minutes where they were to kind of score those two goals. Honestly, that scoreline 3-2 kind of just doesn't really paint the whole picture of what this Galaxy game was really like.
Yeah, both goals came once Real set back and they basically took out all their attacking players. So it limits, how much you can get out of it. I'm gonna hit you up with a few criticisms, and then why don't you let me know what you think? Because I
Gotcha.
gotta tell you, Alex, MLS it's a rapidly evolving league, and the managers, are getting more and more just efficient. And MLS Cup final, the CCL final, these big important games, you have these managers that almost to the minute are just analyzing what's going on. Now, I got to tell you, I'm not Greg Vanney, but what I saw that first half was a team that didn't know what to do from minute one, and I didn't see any sort of adjustment from the Galaxy. Do you think that Greg Vanney deserves criticism for this? Because I mean, in the modern game, if you put a team out there, and we'll even talk about this later, but if you put a team out there and they're struggling and they continue to struggle the whole half, and you're not making any adjustments, I mean, you're setting your team up for failure.
I mean, I guess I'd say one thing is, having Chicharito go down, and his injury at the time looked very serious. Him being stretchered off, obviously being the club captain and how close he is with the team. I'd understand if there was an element of being kind of shell shocked of the moment, because if we're being honest, that came out of nowhere. I wasn't really expecting that. And obviously his initial reactions made it look like it was a really bad injury. Obviously it was not contact, so you're kind of expecting the worst in some ways. So I feel like in that department, emotionally, the team was kind of just shell shocked, and we know that this is an emotional team at times. They're all very young. They all kind of don't necessarily have much experience together. So I kind of understood that. But again, this team, they can play at their principles. We know we've seen it so many times where they can be able to kind of build their way into games and possess the ball, be able to do things to limit the opponent. And we did eventually kind of did see that as the first half appeared. But obviously it wasn't, it was towards maybe the last 10 minutes. You'd rather have that happen, by at least the 20th minute, be able to establish a bit of that rhythm, but we didn't really see that for a while. I feel like this team just, when Chicharito goes down 27th minute, it kind of just ruins a little bit of the momentum that they had building. Because if you remember, the Galaxy were able to kind of get more attacks going, get more touches in RSL's area, being able to kind of attack them. So having that moment kind of did set them back a little bit. But, RSL's not an easy place to play. And I think at this point, we just got to admit that this team, when those moments of adversity happen, it kind of just makes it harder for them to move forward in the game. And that's just my opinion from what I see on the pitch.
Yeah, our buddies over at well, it used to be RSL Soapbox. Now it's the Soccer Sentinel. Or the last game I was mentioning how RSL is a better team than they've been playing, and then I got a little pat on the back from my buddy Lucas, but I'm sitting there going like, no, RSL are a really good team, and there's talk that they're going to get Chicho Rango, that LAFC prolific striker. They're a really good team. I do believe in them, but yeah. I mean, I hear you, Alex. I mean, the Chicharito injury was pretty devastating. It was towards the end of the half. I mean, the penalty too, but I mean, I try not to. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. That's what happened with Ade. Although I thought the penalty was really light. Um, this does bring up, another criticism of Vanney that I thought I would mention, which is Dejan Joveljic. Here's a guy who was doing so well, and this year he's just been ice cold. Now we've got a situation where Vanney, in a way, he's forced into doing maybe a bit of coaching, because here's a guy who he hasn't been able to get going, and now the Galaxy are potentially in a situation where, assuming they can't replace Chicharito with, they can put him on the season-ending list, replace him with someone else, but assuming that doesn't work, Vanney's hope is that he's going to have to take Joveljic and figure out how to get him going again.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen this all season long, and I think, both Chicharito and Joveljic just haven't been able to hit the mark. I mean, 3 goals between them in like 1,749 minutes. So it's not just that one is struggling more than the other. These two just aren't hitting the net. And in general, the strikers aren't doing that well. If you add Preston Judd minutes, he has one more goal. And again, this team just hasn't been able to find that consistency from their number nines. And Vanny kind of mentioned it post game when I asked him about it, because Chicharito last year scoring goals helped the Galaxy move up the table. Same thing with Dejan Joveljic early in the season, rescued lots of points for this team. One thing he kind of mentioned, which is more of a criticism to their play style at the moment, is that, and their personnel, is that they're just not able to use the entirety of the pitch and create those spaces in the box. Mentioning that he wants his wingers and some players to go all the way to the end line and be able to kind of push the center backs, make them retreat more. And again, we don't see that a lot from the Galaxy and their current wingers. Tyler Boyd can do that. Mel Rodriguez, who didn't play in this game, can do that at times. Gino Vivi, I think, who started the last 2 games for the Galaxy. Good player, got good speed, but I don't see him as a type who's very aggressive. And I understand, coming to play your first couple of games in MLS, you're not going to be, going one-on-one against everybody or be extremely aggressive. You're going to play conservatively. But at this point, when you're in a do-or-die game, you have to go out with everything. And I think not being able to make those type of runs and open up those spaces for Chicharito and Joveljic in this game, it's showing. And again, this team is taking really low percentage shots. If you look at their shot chart, a lot of shots from outside the area, a lot of shots that I wouldn't say are difficult, but you wouldn't really necessarily expect them to finish in one touch, which is what they try to do, both Chicharito and Joveljic. So I think right now,
Alex, if you don't mind me interrupting you, what if that's a symptom of of the system that Vanny's putting out? I mean, I might as well get to the point here. Sometimes I wonder if Vanny sets his team up for success. Look, we it happens all the time. The Galaxy, they go into a game wanting to play a certain way. They don't play a certain way. Talk to Vanny afterwards. He explains what happened, but we're halfway through the season and I might be harsh, but for me, the training ground is where you figure out how to play. The match, the actual game itself, that for me is about execution, and for me, maybe impatience with the way the team's performing, but you know, I want to. It's almost as if the Galaxy go out there and they do these like jam sessions, and it's like I want to see a tight performance. I want to see just for once, just once. I want Vanny to just go, "Yep, that's how we're supposed to play." No dissecting the game, no midfield observations. When's this team just gonna go? And Alex, I'll ask you, but when's this team just gonna go out and perform, even just for 90 minutes? If they can't, then again, maybe I'm being harsh, but isn't that a reflection of the coach?
I mean, how else are they going to play at this point? Because I mean, we know what they're good at. We've seen them be able to be a competitive team and play up to their opponents in the system. I mean, when they played with two strikers, we saw that necessarily it kind of did help, but in the long term, using that formation for a while didn't really lead to results. And at this point, stick to what you've been preaching all off season in this formation in this system. Again, I feel like it's more of a personnel issue where you don't necessarily have the players needed to do that. And again, these players that they brought in, I love Tyler Boyd. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great person, but I don't see him being a protagonist in this attack. He seems more like a support piece rather than the piece, if you get what I mean. So I just feel like they're missing a person like that. In their attack, Samuel Grandsir leaving that didn't help at all. I think if he was in this roster, we'd be having a completely different story because if you had him and Tyler Boyd on one wing, those two are setting up lots of chances. They're playing how Vanney wants to play. And again, obviously we know this team is gonna have to not be able to get players in the secondary transfer window. But right now, I'm just thinking out loud, like what else are they supposed to do? Because they've thrown everything at the board and nothing's sticked yet. And we've seen them, against LAFC, in their wins that they've been able to accumulate this season that have, been very few, if we're being honest. They've been good when they've played in this system in a way. It's just their consistency is just not there.
Yeah, unfortunately for Vanny, the team just hasn't performed the way that he's liked. But I mean, one of the things that was that he had in his favor in a little bit was the fact that Chris Klein was around and he was absorbing so much of just the pressure and the criticism. And you could point to just the hierarchy and go, okay, this team for a decade has struggled with roster building. It's struggled to attract the right players. It's struggled to build an elite squad. And so Vanny had a bit of rope as long as Klein was still around. Klein's not around anymore. And maybe that's not, you could argue that that's not fair to Vanny, but if you look at it the other way around, Vanny still got a job, whereas his superior doesn't. So I mean, he's doing better than Klein right now. I can tell you that much. But it's a clusterfuck, Alex. I mean, this is what happens when you cheat and end up having to owe $1 million a gam and you get no summer transfer. Like, I mean, that's got to hit sometime, right? And I thought that the Galaxy, we were all blown away by how brilliant they were in basically getting rid of Cabral and then sort of taking that $1 million gam fee and just sort of making it all work all in one deal. But maybe we need to start analyzing a little bit how we got rid of Grandsir and Cabral and the Galaxy. I don't think they committed to to like the succession of that. Maybe the idea was okay, two DPs after this year, Chicharito, Costa. Maybe this year was always going to be sort of a rebuilding, passive kind of year. Who knows? I definitely thought when I talked to Will Kuntz, or excuse me, when Josh talked to Will Kuntz in that interview, you could kind of tell that he was the one running the ship because it's like, since when has the Galaxy ever been patient with signings ever? But I don't know who. It's tough because who do you blame? I mean, it does feel like we're sort of inching towards this being a year where maybe, especially not the Galaxy or the Open Cup, where maybe it's just get to the end. I mean, as depressing as that is, or do you think
Yeah,
that there's still time for some sort of magic turnaround?
I mean, in the words of Kevin Garnett, anything's possible. I mean, I always look in the glass, half full kind of view. That's always been my mindset. I think anything is necessarily possible in Major League Soccer. We again seeing a major change up in the league with Leo Messi being added. But with the Galaxy, those chances of making a comeback are really dwindling when you take into account, again, like we just mentioned right now, the transfer ban, losing 1 million in GAM.
Strength of
Um,
schedule is really bad too.
yeah, and there's not really a lot of tradable assets on this Galaxy team, if we're being honest right now. So it's looking really tough, looking really rough, but we got to see what happens. Still another half of the season to go, so it's going to be quite the ride in my opinion.
Well, the ride continues this Sunday, 10 a.m. The Galaxy
10 a.m.
early game by the way.
10 a.m.
Well, hey, at least you're not going to be me. I'm going to have to get my ass up early because I'm going to be at the Community Cup. Just so you guys know, this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2, the Galaxy, the supporters groups, everyone's throwing together this 5v5 futsal tournament. It's going to be at the newly constructed Galaxy Park at Dignity Health Sports Park. Again, 5v5 futsal tournament. Galaxy Outlaws, Nag News, Liga G, straight from the stands, ACB, LA Galaxy, RH Designs, Lars, LA is our house, Ace Printing, Galaxians, 123. So everyone's going to be there, including AFTRA. And then there's going to be some 123 swag for the winners. So I'm excited. There's a trophy. So that
Are
means
you
you're
on the
winning.
team?
I'm on LA is our house, so I'm with the other media dudes. So I look forward to that. I look forward to lots of two-footed tackles from from angry fans. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how competitive it gets. Yeah, and yeah, I promised I would be there despite the fact that the game's on at 10. But they are, if you're listening and inquiring about what's going on, they are gonna have TV set up so that if you're not literally playing, you can sit there and just sort of watch both and have fun. I'm going to be there. A lot of people's going to be there. I'm going to get full off of pupusas. I'll probably bring some
Nice.
home. It's going to be awesome. So I'm excited about that. Maybe a bit of a reprieve from what's been a bit of a miserable season. I hate to be negative, Alex. We're just trying to, I guess, just tell it like it is, but also, it's difficult. Alex, I'll tell you right now, I feel for Vanney. This whole arrangement has been ridiculous. I said it on someone's show the other night, but once Klein promised to the season ticket holders that he was going to step down, so he didn't make the Western Conference semifinals, he just felt like a dead man walking. And so, uh, you know, just a week ago, you had all this jubilation, all this excitement that he finally gotten let go, but uh, it's gonna be a tough one, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
And
just looking at. I'm honestly, to be honest, I'm kind of just looking forward to this game. If we're gonna start talking about St. Louis, I think it's gonna be lots of fun, and I think it's gonna be a big test for the Galaxy. Obviously this game's gonna be afternoon in St. Louis. The home fans have always been, big and they go crazy over there, and that's always a
well,
lot
let
of
me ask
fun.
you, Alex. You think that the Galaxy will sort of pull at LAFC and they'll step up to the level of their competition?
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm talking about in my keys to the game. Actually, always step up. They always play since Vanney has been coach of the Galaxy. The LA Galaxy have always played to the level of the top competition in Major League Soccer. They always leave a chance for themselves. They always play quality soccer. They always are able to kind of elevate their game and make it close. They're always able to make sure that they give themselves an opportunity to win the game, and we see that time and time again against some of the top teams in the league, right? We saw that against LAFC, one of the better games the Galaxy played. Same thing with Seattle Sounders, right? They dominated that entire second half, and against these teams in the upper echelon, you're seeing Greg Vanney teams play and compete and put their hearts out. So I think this is going to be a fun game for them, and tactically looking at it, when you're the Galaxy, you're a bit of a slow, methodical, possession based team going against the chaotic, pressing, fast-paced St. Louis side, I think it's got a recipe to be a crazy game. We know this Galaxy team can play at a high tempo. They're good on the counterattack. But just how much are they going to be able to kind of stop St. Louis from getting on their attacks going, because they're very direct. And St. Louis aren't a team like the Galaxy who want to play pretty and make all these intricate passes. I think they have one of the lowest passing percentages in the league. So I think they're going to be able to kind of take advantage of that and be able to play their game and dictate the tempo in that direction. So and again, having Ricky Puig and those technical players, Douglas Costa, I think having them back is going to be a huge boost. So I'm honestly, Mike, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's gonna be quite fun, and I wish this game was a little bit later, but I'll be fine. Watching if I think this is gonna be a good game and it turns out to be a good game, I'll be just happy. Watching this game at 10 in the morning.
Right. Oh man. So did we talk about Messi enough? By the way, he's actually coming to LAFC BMO Stadium sometime this summer. I forgot the exact date.
It's in September.
There we go. So I think it's September 3rd, actually. If anyone wants to buy my press pass for that game, I'll sell it for the low price of $10,000. That's a joke. Don't kick me out of the press box. That's a joke. Don't kick me out of the press box. Yeah, no, you're no kidding about St. Louis, right? We'll see what happens. Direct teams kind of scare me. RSL just carved the Galaxy apart. The rest defense is terrible, but on the other hand, the Galaxy do tend to play to the level of their competition both ways. And I guess we'll see what happens. Well, it's almost 7. We'll leave you a few minutes early, unless you want to talk some more about Messi. Nope, I'm done. We're good. My name is Mike Gray. I am the columnist for the Galaxy and LAC for the Striker, and this is Alex Reese. We're taking off. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good night. And